Hello, everybody. My name is John Cercino. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Luis Angel Gonzalez. I know it's hard to believe. Luis is 91 years old, but he's had such a fabulous life. He worked as an undercover agent for the FBN before it was the DEA in the 60s. Then he had another career in corporate America, and then he had a final career as an investigator for the track at Aqueduct, Belmont, and Saratoga, and he retired at 84 years old. But he's here about his book, and he's going to show you, you're going to see a picture of his book here. The book is Walking the Tightrope, Reflections of a Federal Narcotics Undercover Agent. Now, Louis is going to be giving a little snippets of his career as it actually happened. He has a fantastic memory. And Louis, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, you've asked me from time to time to share stories with you with actual people and actual events in the when I was on the job. And there were sad stories, and there were some very good stories, then there were some humorous stories. And I think sometimes the humor stories can offset some of the other stories. For example, we had this one where the suspect, not a suspect, he was already a defendant, and I believe his name was Bumpy Johnson.
Are you talking about Bumpy Johnson? They made a movie about him?
Yeah. And we had with us approximately 4 or 5 guys, all agents, from different types of characters. Well-educated guys with open personalities where they would crack a joke over a beer or talk business at the courthouse. Anyway, we were expecting the defendant to come into his residence in the Bronx, where he supposedly had 2 kilos of cocaine in his apartment.
What year was this about?
This was early 1960s, and I went with Fitzgerald, Ben Fitzgerald, who was one of my bosses and a comrade, a real friend. And he was the serious type. He was a no-nonsense guy. We tried to break into, this was in the heart of the South Bronx. And we tried to break into the door, but no one was home. The door had the old locks that extend from the floor to the lock. And as he went in and put his arm to try and loosen the lock, this Doberman pitcher came from out of nowhere and bit his arm and took part of his jacket, ripped his jacket right off. Fortunately, he didn't get hurt, but given his personality, what made the story a lot funnier was the natural behavior on the part of the agents. For example, this guy was a chemist by background, professionally. And when the dog took the bite out of the jacket, he said, "I'll get this son of a bitch." And we were all wondering what the hell he meant by that. So he goes down, here we are in the middle of Spanish Harlem in the Bronx, and he goes into the bodega, and he buys a couple of pounds of ground beef, the meat that you use to make meatballs. And then he opens up the trunk of his car. The guy was a chemist by background, and his cab looks like a goddamn lab. He pulls out a bottle of strychnine. Needless to say, he makes poison meatballs. He makes about 4 or 5 meatballs, naturally poison raw meat with the strychnine in it. We go back upstairs, open the door to the extent that we could. We throw in the meatballs. The dog It looked like he was foaming at the mouth. Eats the meatball. About 20 minutes later, we hear this thunder. A noise, boom. The dog obviously had met his untimely demise. So, we wondered, what the hell we do now? Now we got a dead dog. We found 2 kilos of cocaine, but we have no defendant. Guy says, well, the first thing we're going to do is either get rid of the dog or you got to call the ASPCA. Fitzgerald, who was leading the troop, he said, if we call the ASPCA, we got bigger problems. Because we're going to have to answer for this dog. And now that we got a dead dog, I got a better idea. And he points towards the window in the kitchen. The window, we open up the window, we look down. He was on the 6th or 7th floor. We were in the backyard of the window facing the street. He gives us the signal to throw the dog out the window. Out the window goes the dog. Now we're sitting there continuing to hang out. About an hour later, the defendant shows up, whistling and dancing up his way up the stairs. And he sees his door being broken in. What happened here? What happened here? He starts yelling and screaming. We nail him. You're under arrest for the violation of the federal narcotic laws. I don't do narcotics, man. I don't do any of that stuff. Yeah, well, we found 2 kilos. No, you couldn't have found 2 kilos. So we asked him, why? Did you know the amount that you had in there? He said, no. Well, we're going to be honest with you. We found 1 kilo cocaine, and that's obviously yours. It's your apartment now. By this time, he realizes, the defender realizes, that the dog is missing. At which time he launches into a tirade. Where's my dog? Where's my dog? What'd you do with my dog? I said, what are you talking about? My dog Rusty was here, man. What'd you do with him? So Fitz, being the statesman of the group, comes on and says, Bumpy, we got good news and bad news. Okay, the good news is that we're looking for 2 kilos. We only found 1. So the possibility exists that you may get a lesser penalty. You may have to serve less time. The bad news is that upon hearing that you were being arrested, Rusty committed suicide. This is what? What are you talking about, committing suicide? Dogs don't commit suicide. So the people commit suicide. Dogs eat like people. The dog committed suicide. He heard about your case and he committed suicide. You want to see for yourself? Come with me. He opens up the kitchen window, at which time he goes further into a frenzy. Oh my God, what you did to my dog? He committed suicide, my friend. At that point, we left, got back, packed up, got back together again. The guy with the jacket was still complaining about his jacket. Fitz says we had no choice in the matter but to get rid of the problem at the time. And I don't recall specifically the sentence, but I believe it probably got reduced anyway.
Thank you very much. Stay tuned for the next video. Louis has plenty of stories, some sad stuff, and how he ended his career with dignity. Speak to you soon.
Beautiful.